paper magic will survive like the heat death of the universe, and will...
Oh, it's a smuggler's copter. Would you like to crew this? And then it crashes because they don't understand arithmetic.
All your cards belong to me.
2 minutes into macing him in the eyeballs, I switched to pepper spray. He's like, that's all right, refreshing. And went back to the mace.
Magic is dying. I'm done. Selling everything.
I might be a hoarder. And yes,
I don't have the crayons or glue to explain this to you right now.
What, are you gonna die twice?
Oil will be worthless before magic cards will.
Well, okay, Dr. Man.
That's Mr. Dr. Professor Jason.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Brainstorm Brewery. It's another special episode, but before we jump into everything today, we have to give some credit to our very own Jason Alt. I'm Corbin Hostler. Welcome to the show. Jason, you were recently recognized. We posted a video from our cast where Jason and I bet on Thrasios being in Commander Legends. Jason lost, as it was technically in the set. He had to eat a very hot gummy bear. You can find the video on our YouTube channel at Brainstorm Brewery.
I should have put a regular
on YouTube.
gummy bear in the microwave and said, "Oh, it's technically a hot gummy bear."
Jason was in quite a bit of pain.
It's a hot gummy bear the same way Thrasios is in the set.
I on that note, I have a story from college.
Okay. We'll get back to Jason being recognized. Go ahead, DJ.
So, my first ever RA in college was a role model / mentor to me for a while, and one of my most iconic moments. So at our dining hall in college or whatever, the rule was you could always take out like one cup of whatever you wanted to go. So they didn't want you just like smuggling entire like boxes of cereal or what. It's like, but you could fit whatever you wanted into one to-go cup, one little like styrofoam esque thing. And so it was the whole meme of like, oh, you can fit an entire like cheeseburger in there, like if you can fit jam 3 slices of pizza into the cup, you can take whatever. And they always had a Sunday bar every Sunday night or whatever. And so my RA one day decided to fill it with ice cream toppings. So like there was like M&Ms, there was like
I thought you were gonna say ice cream.
No, ice cream toppings. So like there was like sundae toppings, so you could get like sprinkles or Oreo crumbles or like whatever. And so he wanted gummy bears. And so he gets like a whole giant, like it's like a this size cup. It's a pretty good size cup full of gummy bears. And he asks all of us to like get our own and just like smuggle a bunch of candy out of the dining hall. And he's sitting there as we're eating late night, just staring at his cup of gummy bears, and he looks at it and he says, "If I put all of these in the microwave, I can melt them down and then let it cool, and I will have a super gummy bear. I'll just have like a gelatin mass of cup-shapedness that I can like devour at my will." And so he heads off to the microwave, and we all get back to chatting, and then like an unsettlingly long amount of time later, he just runs back to the table screaming, "I made a mistake," just grabbing napkins and then running back to the microwave because apparently it exploded in the microwave.
Of course it did.
Yeah.
Of course it did.
The gummy bears exploded?
Okay, no. The gummy bears did not explode.
The microwave exploded.
The moisture that was trapped underneath the gummy bears superheated. So, I don't know if you know how a microwave oven works. A microwave
Convection?
oven... No, it doesn't.
I don't know.
Convection? What?
I don't know, man.
It's a
just
microwave. It shoots microwaves, right? And those waves are wave-shaped. And when it hits something polar, like water, it spins the water. The faster the water spins, the higher in energy it gets. It heats up, it turns into steam. That is what microwaves do. They just boil water. And then there's water inside the shit you want cooked, presumably, and it just boils that. And so it heats stuff. There's moisture in the bottom, right? And then the gummy bear forms like a barrier on top, and all that pressure builds up, and then the pressure has to go somewhere. So it either rips the cup, or it sends molten gummy bear shit exploding out of the cup. Microwaves just boil water. Or I guess any other polar molecule, I guess. But like, I don't think you're putting acetone in your food. I think you're mostly just taking something frozen, like a burrito, and then putting in for 3 minutes and 11 seconds because that's your ex's birthday, and then you cry while your burrito's boiling, and then you eat it and it's too hot and it burns your mouth. You just wanted to feel something. That's how a microwave works, right? So, yes, of course the gummy bears exploded because the gummy bears on top formed a barrier and it didn't allow the steam to escape. Like, that's what happens.
Well, while I have a microwave expert here, I have to ask you, does putting a small cup of water in the microwave alongside the food you are microwaving help that food get microwaved to taste better? You know what I'm talking about? Like if you put pizza or something.
It won't dry out as much. Yeah.
This was like a
I
little
put
life
damp
hack
paper
that
towel over my
I don't
stuff.
know if it's... Yeah.
Yeah, you just... The steam will escape, right? If you cook your food too long, it'll dry out because all the
Right.
moisture escapes and it'll dry out. So if you have it more moist in the microwave, less of the water's going to go out into like the ambient microwave air,
Interesting.
right?
Okay,
so
good
like
to know.
you're just increasing the relative humidity inside the microwave, so more water is staying inside the food.
This is a science podcast now.
In theory, I don't know if that's actually a thing, but that's like the theory behind it.
I mean, this is more valuable to listeners than anything we could say about magic cards, because like your body is a temple of plenty, and keeping that body healthy is going to provide you more long-term value than like any sort of imaginary number in a bank account. So like
That's right.
that value about like your pizza not just being raw, dry cardboard, like we're providing you that value to live a longer life, which will therefore net you more money.
Don't microwave pizza. Use a skillet.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, this is all sort of like what I was going to say, which was to bring up that when we shared our post to the MTG Finance subreddit that Jason helped create, however long ago, the first comment was someone saying, I think I've seen that man do stand-up.
Yep.
And then, as the detectives
He
figured
had.
out, he
They
had.
They had
Jason
me.
is famous. That's
I'm
pretty
a-
cool. That's all
I
I'm
am
saying.
an
That's all I'm saying.
award-deserving stand-up comedian.
All right. Well, welcome in everybody to the show. We're going to talk Kalheim tonight. In addition to all of our favorite segments, we've got a couple new things to talk about. We've got an email we're going to hit later on that should be good. But first, let's do Breaking Bulk.
Breaking bulk time. Breaking bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, breaking bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking bulk. The end.
For those who don't know, Breaking Bulk is a segment where we break bulk. There, you're all caught up.
That was
A
succinct. I liked it.
Yeah,
that
succinct.
was
Yeah,
good.
me and Corbin are on the same page
Yeah,
there.
great,
But
man.
Look, man, what do you say about breaking bulk other than that there's bulk, we break it? You should be picking this stuff. If you're not picking it, maybe you should be, and we're going to try to get each other to guess.
Well, here's one you should be picking. A green uncommon for Modern Horizons.
Beast Within?
Nope.
no, that card was not in that set.
Yeah, generous gift was in
Yeah, it
the
was.
set.
It's white.
Yeah, it
It's
was.
White Beast Within.
That is,
No,
however, not the card I am talking about. I'm talking about an actual green card with the forest mana symbols on it.
How many?
I believe it actually has, let's see here, 6 green mana symbols on this card.
An uncommon with 6 green mana symbols.
Oh, it's the
Primal?
triple Llanowar elves.
Yeah, it's Land of War Tribe.
They made that stupid 3 grizzly bears as a joke, and then they're like literally 3 Llanowar elves.
Yeah, it's 3 mana for a 3/3 elf, and it adds 3 mana to your pool.
It's actually
Land of War
really...
Tribe, 75 cents. Real card.
That's what you meant by 6 mana symbols on it, 3 in the CMC and 3 in the text box. You think you're cute.
Yeah. That is, you
All right,
figured it out.
While we're being cute, I have an Alara Reborn multicolored instant.
All of the cards in Alara Reborn were multicolored. Does it have Cascade?
Violent Outburst.
Corbin guessed it. Yes, it is Violent Outburst. So
One
he
for
guessed
one,
it
baby.
just based on the fact that it was a multicolor instant.
I guess
I
it
mean,
had
I played
Cascade,
Living End
so
for
I
a very
knew-
long time.
You know what? Yeah, you did it. Congrats.
There's
I
also
have
the,
Living End across the room. That's why it was the first one I thought of.
Well, like the reason I picked it is because like I think it's been long enough that Living End is now a boomer deck.
Probably, yeah. That checks out.
And
I agree.
I believe that there are youngsters out there who would not recognize the combo or the deck if they happen to see it across a table or a virtual screen or whatever. And so, like, you may be going through cards from Alara Reborn, which was, like, over 10 years ago, by the way.
No,
Don't say
I
it
was
like
in
that,
college
when
DJ.
that set-
Don't say it like that.
And you may not immediately recognize that, like, a card that says creatures you control will get +1/+0 until end of turn is used in a competitively viable or once competitively viable deck. And it's still like a 45-cent card on retail.
Guess what set
There
when
you
I
go.
came out just before I went to college? Judgment. And I have a red uncommon.
Is it Planar Chaos?
It's not Planar Chaos.
Is it
It has nothing to do
Could
with
not tell
Krark.
you what.
it's gotta oh, so it's not a dwarf card, you're saying?
I didn't say it's not a dwarf card. I
Is
said
that-
it has nothing to do with Krark,
Well,
which
is
is
it-
what Planar Chaos has
Oh,
to do.
Krark. I don't know. So it is a dwarf card then.
I'm not saying it's not or it is.
I'm saying
it's
it is.
Balduvian dwarves.
Balduvian dwarves?
I
That's not a
both
magic
have
card.
no.
Is that a card name, Corbin?
I
don't
both
think
have
that's
no
a magic
idea
card.
what. Look, I don't know what
Corbin,
card
you're
you're talking about.
disqualified.
I don't know what
Mute
set
his
you're
mic.
talking about.
Oh, goodness gracious. Corbin. Sweet Corbin.
I'm sorry, I'm not a
server muted him,
boomer.
It's fine.
I'm not a boomer.
I can't hear him. Splendid. DJ, do you have a real guess?
I'm not a boomer.
I am going to say that it's a Judgment Dwarf card, but I do not know the names of all of the Judgment Dwarf cards.
Balduvian horde.
Well, then your shit's super weak. This is Dwarven Balduvian Driller. For whatever reason, this one is still not.
Wait, is
$9
Dwarven Driller the
like
one that
every other
destroys?
dwarf.
Is Dwarven Driller the one that destroys a land?
Unless
Like, unless they
deals
pay
2
two.
damage.
Yeah, I played this.
Every dwarf destroys a land. It's crazy.
Sure.
Yeah, that is a thing.
So I played this card. The first actual Magic deck that I ever built, like the first deck where I took 60 cards and shoved them together, was a mono red land destruction deck, and I learned a valuable lesson that day about what deck people will play against more than once. Like I was like, oh, I'll put Thrashing Wumpus in there. I'll put like what is it, like Pillory Ogre or Pillaging Ogre or something, like pillaging, like it's like a ogre that did like sacrifices to destroy lands or
pillages?
something like that. I put like
You know what
Stone
card
Raids.
I
I
liked
put
back
Molten
in the day?
Raids.
You know what card pisses people off more than Pillaging Ogre or whatever? Orcish Squatters. My friends did not like.
Or I think
Orcish.
that was the one.
Squatters?
That's the
Is
one
that
that
what it is?
the art is like the painting, right? The art's the like
Yeah.
that's the
The
card I was
5th
talking
edition
about.
art is the painting. Yeah.
So
That's the
whenever
one I played.
Orcish Squatters attacks and is not blocked, you may gain control of target land defending player controls for as long as you have the Squatters. If you do, it deals no combat damage. For
And,
5 mana. 2, 3 for 5 mana.
I
Interesting.
played Roiling Tremor or whatever. It's like the original world weight card. It's
Roiling
like,
Trembler.
no, it's 4
Roll.
mana
Creature can't
destroy it. It's like 4 mana. No, it's 4 mana destroy a land, and then
Oh.
it deals X to them, where X is the number of lands in their graveyard. So that was
Oh,
the card I
interesting.
built the deck around. It's like so you just like blow up their lands, and you're like Stone Rain takes 6 or whatever.
Roiling Tembler or Roiling Trembler.
I don't know. It's a
I
world weight
remember that
common.
card. Yeah, I remember that card.
But that
I
was the
think.
first deck I ever built by myself, and it included Dwarven Driller.
I played the ants, the red-black ants, where you tap to tap a land. And then there was like a worm from Ice Age that did the same thing. So you just keep these creatures tapped and their land doesn't untap, and then you just do it to all their lands, and then they punch you in the head.
So DJ, you were talking about the story of getting value earlier, and it did remind me of this. When I was in college, I had a meal plan that I got as part of my scholarship, and I didn't really like the cafeteria food. It was not great. However, as part of the
Hey,
meal
Corbin,
plan,
did you get a scholarship to college?
Uh,
You haven't mentioned it. A lot. You don't bring it up a lot. I'm just one saying.
Okay. So I would have we had, I think it was $150 per semester on the account that you could use in the to-go section of the like general store. And so since we never really ate there, I mean at the end of the
The
semester,
general
me and
store?
several. Yeah, well, if you want to put it that way, like
Did
the
it have
place where
like
you
pickles
could
in
get,
a big barrel and like giant pickle sets?
like the general, whatever, right? Whatever that little part of campus. 'cause
Magazine
it's
in
not a-
Maryland Monroe.
It's not a large campus.
I need a
point is,
5
at the
pound
end of
sack
the-
of sorghum, some hardtack, and a wagon wheel axle. You have all that at the
They
general
put-
store?
they put no
$150,
such-
sir. We don't have change for that much money.
They put no restrictions on ours though, so we just took a shopping cart in,
Get down,
And-
son! There's a bunch of gunslinging cowboys out front.
We cleaned out all of their soda and all of their energy drinks and all of the snacks we could get at the end of every semester. So I'm glad we were both chasing that value, though, in college. That's what I like to hear. Now let's talk about some more value here. It is Kalheim, the newest Magic set that comes out at the beginning of February. That's a month from now. It's 2021. And we now know the mechanic Foretell. We know what it does. So this is actually kind of cool, I think. I'll start with Battle Mammoth. I think this is a new one. It's a 5/5 6. I'm sorry, it's a 5-mana 6/5 with trample, and the ability whenever a permanent you control begins to target a spell or ability an opponent controls, draw a card. It has Foretell, and what that means is for 2 mana during your turn, you can exile the card from your hand face down, and you can cast it later for its Foretell cost. Which in this case is 4. So with the Battle Mammoth, the 6/5 with all these upsides on it, you can pay 2 mana on turn 2 to set it aside, and then 4 mana on say turn 4 to cast this creature. Comes out a little earlier that way. So that's what the mechanic does. It is essentially, it's not suspend.
It's
It's
layaway.
It's kind of like
kick-
morph.
It's kicker.
right?
It's kicker.
It's layaway.
It's kicker.
Layaway. Okay, layaway. Sure.
Every mechanic is kicker.
This one is not quite
Every mechanic
kicker,
is
though.
kicker, though.
This one I will not call kicker, but this
It's
is actually
kicker-
pretty cool, I
It's
think.
kicker with time. You just like the kicker bonus is time.
Okay.
You know, suspend is really vanishing. It's kicker. You play a spell and it's good, and then the kicker is it goes away.
I actually think this is a
Vanishing's kicker. First strike is
actually-
kicker. You see a creature, you kick her. She's dead. She doesn't deal damage to you.
No,
I
first
think-
strike is kicker, where you just always have to pay the kicker. So like a 2-mana 2/2 with first strike
Costs more
is
mana.
kick is like has kicker. Yeah, because it's kick. It's you already kicked it. Then like yeah.
So White Knight is a 2-mana
Compared
2/2,
to,
and
like-
the kicker is one of the colorless mana, and is actually a white mana.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying to you.
That's
Yeah.
more
You know what's
convincing
great?
than I'd like. I was mocking you.
Well,
but
you know
now
what's
I'm
great
sorta
about
like,
that?
I'm-
You know what's great
Like-
about that argument is that White Knight existed before kicker.
Like
Therefore,
so
every kicker card is just White Knight.
Windrake is gray ogre with kicker with blue mana.
I see. Yeah.
Every kicker is White Knight.
Every magic card has kicker.
You heard it here first, folks.
So Grizzly Bears.
Anyway, Foretell is
just-
really cool.
Grizzly Bears is gray ogre, and the kicker is 1 less mana.
Yes. Yeah, you're getting it. Yes.
Okay, I think I get it.
I think you're on the right track. Yeah, something like that. You guys want to lay away your spells though, and then
I
cast
do.
them
I want to
later?
play Reynard
I
the
don't-
Ever Watchful to foretell my first spell every turn for 0, saving me 2
I don't
mana.
want to mention the term layaway anywhere near magic cards because I don't want to bring like the death plague of Kmart to this game.
You don't want to start selling cards on layaway?
Have
I
you
mean,
never
I'll do
gone
that, don't get me
into
wrong, if you
have
j-
you never gone into a Kmart that was clothing and like bought magic cards? Because like for
Probably a
whatever
great
reason,
idea.
like when Toys R Us went out of business, I went in there. They're like, there are no magic cards here, and I was like, why? They're like, because some independent company stocked it and they just got all that shit day one. I was like, oh, I didn't know. But Kmart, they're like, take it all. Those people, like, they said, forget it. My friend Matt McClowery does a joke where he says a Kmart looks like a Target that sold its floor waxer to buy meth, and I think that's the most apt description of a Kmart of it. Like that always stuck with me. I never forgot that joke. So like even the people that
worked
stock magic at Kmart was like, no, we'd like keep the. We're not going. I'm not going back in a Kmart.
I worked at a Kmart for a year, and knowing the layout of a Kmart front and back, I can tell you that is 100% true.
Wow. Interesting. Here's one I want to talk about. We don't know what this is yet, and I'm sure everyone will know by the time you hear this, but Runeforge Champion, it's a 2/3 for 3 white creature. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library and or graveyard for a rune card, reveal it, put it in your hand. You may pay 1 rather than pay the mana cost for rune spells you cast. What do we think that
Hey guys,
means?
we invented enchantments.
I mean, it's kind of like,
invented set specific enchantments.
so we don't know what runes are going to be, but it seems like an interesting mechanic. I'm sure they'll get January 4th.
Special enchantments, so like cartouches.
I am a
I
am a RuneScape player. I'm a RuneScape player, so therefore I'm an expert in runes.
So can the Runeforge champion get me a Tal rune and an Eth rune so I can put it in a 2-socket common armor and make stealth, which is what you need for speedrunning Diablo 2?
Well, that's a good question. If you want, we could ask. We could try to get a Wizards employee on here and ask him that question. I'll tell you what, Jason, we'll look into scheduling somebody just to get that question answered. Another card from Kalheim stands out. A new one, I think, is Calamity Bear. In case you wanted some more damage doublers in red, you've got a giant
Calamity
one.
Bear?
Calamity Bear, yeah, it's a 3/4. If a giant you control,
Calamity Bear, like he's one of
like
those
it's a
gummy
2/2
bears or something like that.
Yeah, well, it is big and red, and look, I mean, it's fire, right? It's literally got fire in his hands, so you never know.
What do you think the gummy bears are?
So the flavor text says he'd ignite
the gummy bear, not a gummy bear. The gummy bears. Do you not know what the gummy bears are? The gummy bears.
The flavor text says he'd ignite the world tree itself if he could, and the world tree is Jason's colon.
Didn't Sylvanas already do that?
Gummy bears, bouncing here and there and everywhere.
I don't know.
They were these
what
bears,
Nobody
right?
knows.
And they had this juice, and they would drink the juice, and it made them bouncy. So
You ancient fossil. What are you talking about?
it
What
was a
the
cartoon
hell
called the
are
Gummy
you
Bears.
talking about?
They were these bears, and they drank this potion, and then they could like bounce on their butts. So they would like bounce. They were like, "Oh, we can't get on top of that castle," and then they would drink their bouncing potion, and then like bounce on top of the castle, and like that's all I remember. I just remember.
Jason, this show came out in 1985. Man,
It's on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
It's
on Disney Plus. I
1985.
haven't seen it since 1988, but I know it. I'm aware of it.
I didn't see it because I wasn't alive then.
Your parents didn't have cable in 1988. That was your.
I
issue.
wasn't born, Jason.
Yes, you were. You're like a year older than me.
Okay.
You weren't
That's-
born in
no,
1988. You're lying.
I was born in 1988.
See,
Every 2 months, we rediscover this.
you were born in.
Anyways, but the thing is that I'm not even young anymore, right? That dates me too. That's the worst part of all this. Moving on from this.
I think Calamity Bear is going to make people make really basic Brian Stout arm decks. Maybe Ruhan of the Formori, maybe too.
Are those both giants? I would assume.
Yeah, if this
Or-
made Ruhan come or Brian Stout arm come back, that would be cool. But like this just
That
slots
would
in
be
those
cool.
decks.
That's an OG commander.
It doesn't matter financially at all, but I just really love the idea of Calamity Bear just being like, oh, you're getting Bosch Iron Golemed pretty hard here right now, and there's nothing you can do about it. I
is Bosch a giant?
Probably a golem, one would guess.
But Brian
Is he a
Stoutarm is the
giant?
one that deals the damage. Oh, you saying if this could go in the Bosch deck? I don't know.
I don't know.
No, Bosch
either.
is a golem.
Yeah,
I had a Bosch deck, and then I realized that on Amazon Prime, Bosch is a show about a cop, and I was like, couldn't get into it.
So what else are people building right now on EDH as we start to see kind of the trickle of Kalheim come in? On EDH, Rec, what are we seeing right now?
Well, there's not actually a ton of stuff. There's only 5 legendary creatures that people have had long enough to build with. And you will not be surprised to know that Magda Brazen Outlaw is
That's
running
the Dwarf Lord, right?
So Halvar, God of Battle, built like not very much. Sarulf Realm Eater, a card DJ likes and I don't, is built about as much as Toski Bearer of Secrets, which everyone is building a Squirrel Tribal, which is lazy. Magna Brazen Outlaw is the Dwarf Berserker. Other dwarves get 1/0. When a dwarf you control becomes tapped, create a treasure token, sack 5 treasures, search your library for an artifact or dragon. Magna Brazen Outlaw is a deck that people are very excited about.
And it puts it directly into play. Puts it directly into play.
Yeah, that's worth noting. You
Yeah.
So 5 treasures is fairly easy to come by, like especially if you cast like Brass's Bounty or something like
Yep,
that. Like you're not
that's-
getting all
well,
the
that's
good
the big
treasure
one.
stuff, but Corbin's preview card, Dockside Extortionist, is in play, so like those are a great pickup at $49. It's in a $35 pre-con. Just like if you can get those, get them. Like somebody was selling like the whole set for like $120. I'm like, that is a $50 Dockside Extortionists and then like $70 for 5 decks. So like,
well, Brass's Bounty, for what it's worth, and I know we talked about it back in Rivals of Ixalan, but the card has spiked in the past couple months, basically the past 6 months. Really was, but even, maybe 4 to 6 months, the card's gone from $1 to $3, or from 2 to 3, right? And this is a card that was probably just going to continue to climb, and it'll end up being, $5, right? It's still climbing right now. I don't know that, like, I'd say pick of the week this, because it's $350 and climbing, and I don't know how high it'll go, but I mean, we've seen whatever the green version of this card is, how expensive and how played it can be. So, whatever that version is called. What's the green one?
Boundless Realms?
Boundless Realms, yeah.
This is not Boundless Realms because that gives you lands that you can use forever.
Yeah, I understand. Bounty, it's the red. It is about as close as you're going to get.
Red doesn't get to have nice things. Red is a support color. I get it. Yeah. All the foils are gone, and I don't like buying EDH foils. You're going to sell these to other speculators, I think.
I agree.
Yeah, I think so.
Unless it's like not a real foil card, like stuff like dual decks don't count as foils.
Mm-hmm. Another thing is, for everything that's like thrown after, collector boosters have completely destroyed foils. Like,
yes,
foils cost the same as non-foils now. So,
you either have to, I mean, and it makes sense, and this is something we always kind of wanted. People got them because they were the most expensive, and as soon as they lost that status, no one really cared. So you either get the collector full art foils, like you either get the best version that's new, right? Mm-hmm. Or you get the OGs. But your foil, if you're just a foil of a card in a set, it's just not going to, doesn't matter.
Well,
much
curly.
Anymore.
They're curly, shitty cards.
That's a problem,
so like nobody wants them. So if you can have a non-curly full art and not have some foils, some non-foils in your deck, or if you can just have a whole deck of non-foils and some of them are full art and cool, like it seems like a no-brainer. Foils have always sucked, but like now people have a credible alternative.
I will say there's like some small exceptions to the rule of like there being this dead man's like this no man's land between like the cheapest and the most expensive version. Because in most cases that's true, where you have like there's two kinds of players, right? The ones that wants the super, super cheap version and the person that wants the blingiest version, right. Whatever. Most of the time that is true. There are some cards where there are exceptions to that rule, and I mean, Soul Ring just happens to be like the perfect example for every metaphor, for every Magic card ever, which is kind of cool. But Soul Ring's another example here. And we have the cheap, super ultimate, like, you can get your regular old Commander pre-con, rip it open, grab a Soul Ring, slam it on the table. It's $3 everywhere, no matter what, forever, $3 for a Soul Ring. And then you have your Masterpiece Soul Ring, which is like your I want to spend $500 cash money, like MTV music video Soul Ring. But there are a lot of Soul Rings in between that range that people still buy. Mm-hmm. Like Revised Soul Ring is a great example. It's like closer to $7 to $10, but people are willing to pay like the percentage increase between super cheap Soul Ring and super big Soul Ring is so small that a lot of people will be like, well, it's a slight increase in price, but I'm happy to pay the nostalgia factor. And there's some people that are like, well, I want a foil Soul Ring because my whole deck is foil because foils are cheap, but I'm not paying $500 for one, so I'll get from the Vault Soul Ring, which is like $50.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. Go ahead.
So as you get as the spread between the cheapest version and the more expensive version becomes greater, and as the number of printings and a number of variety of those options scale, you have more demand as long as the card, or you have more like options as long as the card is in high demand. Like Shocklands are in a weird spot with this because like the original versions are the least desired. So Shocklands, you have like the super cheap version, which is like the RTR or the Guilds version. Mm-hmm. Then you have the super expensive version, which is like the either the Expeditions or the OG foils, like the Dissension foils. And then you have the Dead Man, the No Man's Land, where like the middle version is crap. And that's true for like most cards, but there are some exceptions to this, like the like the Soul Ring example, and fetch lands to a degree. Like fetch lands, you can still move the secret lair ones because like they're the in between of like, oh, these are cooler than Zendikar, but they're not Zendikar Expedition Polluted or whatever. Like there's exceptions, and
well, and that in between is interesting to note too, especially because it kind of divides sort of the cards that get the full art treatment into two camps, right? Where it's new card that just is they're showing it off from the set, and you're going to have the fanciest version is still going to be what, like $8 to $10 or something, right? And you're not going to see a lot of in between with, say, the foils. Whereas you start, say, something like the Great Hinge, I think that there's a lot of like that's a very expensive one when you start talking about that's a recent card that's very expensive when you start talking about the most expensive version.
Yeah.
So yeah, DJ's right. There has to be a big gap between sort of these basically EDH cards, eternally playable cards, more or less, and the new ones, right? The new sets, the new set mechanics that they're showing off.
I mean, like Brainstorm's the other example where like you can have a cheap beat up Ice Age Brainstorm, or you can have a super sweet near mint Masks foil Brainstorm that is multiple hundreds of dollars, and the percentage difference between those is so great that you can still find buyers for like Masters 25 foil Brainstorm sets. Because it's like, oh, it's like $4 or $5 for a foil Brainstorm, whatever. It goes in my cube or my EDH, my Legacy deck. It's still foil. It's not Masks foil. I don't care, but it's nice.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, actually. All right. Well, speaking of, I think we have an email to get to. DJ, do you want to read that one for us?
We have an email from GT, that is GEE space T, titled, I want to trade away my collection.
Ooh, okay.
And then he just gets right into it and says, into duels or something else that seems unlikely to massively lose value. I DM Jason on Instagram. I don't have Twitter. I mostly have modern playables in bulk from like Eldritch Moon to Modern Horizons. So, Jason, check your Insta, bro.
You have an Insta?
Check your Snap.
I don't even have an Insta,
fam.
If I didn't have an Insta, I wouldn't have known that some random person got the Instagram account EDHREC years ago and wasn't using it at all, and then today started making a bunch of posts and following all the EDHREC writers, and then he followed me and I was like, you're not EDHREC, and he's like, oh, sorry, and then he like just stopped using the name, and we took it before he could change his mind. So I
scared him,
I
Jason.
see Hostler 88'd a guy today.
Yeah.
And
feels good, doesn't it? No, it feels great to get the time. No, the difference is I had a conversation with Craig Hostler about it. You just scared some poor person. You probably threatened him with legal action.
What if EDHREC was his legal name?
Listen, I would have sued. You think I won't sue a kid? I will sue a kid, but I didn't have to. All I said was, you're not EDH.
He's like,
he went, oh.
He's like, my given name is EDHREC Smith III, and my father was an EDHREC, and my grandpappy was an EDHREC.
Sir, I know.
I am Edward Delano Hansen Rikodovich, and I don't like how you're treating me. Now, if you'll excuse me, Magic is my favorite game, and I'm going to follow all of your writers. Post pictures of Kalheim spoilers.
So,
how random. Anyways, read the email.
I have an Instagram. That's the point. I have an Instagram. And
answer the email, I mean.
It's public? I don't know.
Yeah, Jason, I'm glad you have an Insta, bro.
This is
your daughter teach you how to use it?
Old, I think. I think he wants me to drive to Detroit and give him dual lands, which is a thing I could do, maybe. That
is a thing you could do, but let's tackle the question outside of that. If you want to turn your stuff
question, how do you turn modern playables in bulk from Eldritch Moon to Modern Horizons into dual lands?
You do. I would say the most straightforward way to do this, and likely your easiest way, is to buy list them to a store, right? You go through the time on Card Kingdom, and you put all of your cards in, and you get the top dollar you can on trading them all in. You take the store credit, you get the big store credit boost, which on most sites, and I'm not going to shill for any particular site here, I use Card Kingdom a lot to buy lists, but you're going to, some of those sites are going to charge you a premium when you buy the cards on the other end of it, but you can kind of offset that with the bonus trade-in value you get if you take the credit. So if your goal is to just turn a bunch of cards with value into cards like duels, no one's going to make that trade with you unless they're like a vendor or, basically, right? Like us. So your most likely bet is to just take to the internet. You can be a little more picky that way. You can also, if you decide, the difference between taking it, just like selling everything to somebody and then getting cash and buying what you want, is that if you're just dumping it all at once, it's more of a single transaction. You can't be quite as picky. Just go buy lists of stuff, put in the time, you'll get the top dollar for it. You don't pay someone else, you don't pay someone else to do that work for you and let them make the money, right? You just want to go do it yourself. And then the great part is it doesn't matter to a store like Card Kingdom or Channel Fireball or Star City or wherever you go that you gave them a bunch of Eldritch Moon cards, because they don't care. It's just numbers in their system, and you will be able to turn that into whatever fancy card.
If they don't want the card, they wouldn't pay the number they're paying. Yeah, they're
the easiest way to do it by far.
Or they're just making a mistake.
If I were giving you cash, I would give you Card Kingdom's cash number anyway. Like I wouldn't, I wouldn't like overpay versus like you're better off going somewhere that offers store credit.
Well, especially when you're in a situation like this where you have a starting point. I have all these cards from these sets that are mildly desirable. And you have an end goal if I want to get duels, right? It's very easy to get from point A to point B. That's a great kind of question, right? It's a lot harder when people say, I have this. What should I do to get rich now or whatever, right? Well, you need to have a goal, and we can help you get to the goal. So that's the easiest way to do that. If you want to stay in
something reserve list, stable, not going anywhere. We always mention Card Kingdom, and we're not sponsored by Card Kingdom. Sponsor us, Card Kingdom. We like Card Kingdom because they have a trade-in bonus, and even though they charge a little bit more, we think the bonus more than offsets that. So, like, if you want store to use $37, and if you want store credit, they'll pay $41, and all of a sudden, like, that really helps.
Well, having a trade-in bonus is not an exclusive feature to Card Kingdom. The biggest draw to their bio is generally is number one, ease of use.
Yep.
And number two is, like, paying numbers on low-value cards, like they'll pay down to dimes or nickels or whatever. Like
Card Kingdom has a very strong buy list.
Those are the two general factors. Because, like, having a trade-in bonus, like, Star City has a trade-in bonus. Like, a lot of stores have trade-in bonuses. It's when you get down to, like, accessibility and, like, the dollar amount they're paying on, like, cards that other stores don't want.
And one of the things you want to do, especially in this case, if you have an end goal, say I want a playset of Underground Seas. Actually find a store that has the best price on Underground Seas, right? That's what I'm saying. If you take a little bit of time to put in this little bit of research here, you can end up with the best situation for you. Whereas if we tell you to just start selling, list everything on TCG Player and get cash and then buy what you want. It's so much so much more work to get to the same end goal. So, that's my advice on that question.
Yeah, and
that'll serve you very well.
I can elaborate a little bit on that from a general point of view, and like this is probably the single most asked question I have ever gotten in my 10 plus years of doing this. Is like, I have X and I want to get Y. How do? And the non-answer answer that I generally learned to give people is that it depends on your situation, and that there is a I wrote an article on this years ago, but it is just a math problem that you need to figure out for yourself in terms of plugging in numbers and values of, like, time versus money. And, like, the amount of time you put in will always increase the amount of reward you get out of it, based on, like, whether or not you're selling on TCG Player, how much time you want to spend dealing with individual people on Facebook or making listings in groups, or just all of those different values and engines and threads and whatnot, versus just, like, me put card box ship. And, like, we've advertised that service before on this podcast. We've been sponsored by stores that offer that kind of service, and, like, that might not be the one for you, but it is always dependent on the user and the user's situation and the user's goals, just like Corbin said. So, like, there is always just this, like, invisible equation that you, like, there is a correct decision for you somewhere, but it is never my job to say, like, oh, you should do this, because I don't have every single data point or every single piece of information about your specific situation. It's always just, like, you need to do the small amount of, like, napkin math and figure, like, okay, if I value my time at this, if I get paid this much at my job, if I'm treating this as a job, how much do I enjoy doing the whole buying and selling part? Can I do this while watching Netflix? How much time do I like lose spending with my kids? Like all these like physical numbers and like intangibles and all that stuff. Like you just need to plug that into it yourself.
Yep, absolutely. Well said. All right, well, it is time for Pick of the Week. But before we do that, we want to give a shout out to our friends over at originalmagicart.store. We talk about them every week because it is worth checking out. You can use the code BREWCREW when you check out over there. And what can you check out with? Well, they've got art, playmats, prints. The best part about the website is that everything you buy goes back to supporting a magic artist in the community, and you can check out that beautiful talisman in DJ's hands. I love that. That looks so good, DJ. I'm so glad you have that. I've got to get something. All right, it is time for Pick of the Week. Cue that music.
Pick of the Week. Pick of the Week. Pick of the Week. Time for the Pick of the Week.
I'm gonna fire mine off. I picked Worldly Tutor because this card was in Commander Collection Green. And it's got a nice little new border. There are not... Like, prior to this, you had the option of the Mirage border or the 5th/6th edition border.
Uh-huh.
And those aren't great.
No, they're not. They are not.
So I fully expect this Worldly Tutor to rebound similar to how the Eternal Masters Vampiric Tutor rebounded.
I'm going to be honest, though, DJ. I don't love the art on this one either.
But it doesn't matter.
I know, but it does in the sense that now if they finally print a good version, a good art on Worldly Tutor 2 years from now, you're going to have another opportunity. But no, you're right. I like this pick a lot.
Based on current trends, we get Worldly Tutor reprint 15 years from now.
Yeah, once every 7 years.
Based on the pattern.
Yeah. Well, you're right. I like this is a great pick. It's expensive. It's $20, but it's not going to be cheaper.
But like, this is if you need a Worldly Tutor, buy this one now, and then like when you take apart that stupid squirrel deck or whatever 8 months from now, you're going to be surprised that this one is 30, I think.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Okay, well, I'm going to follow up with a land I actually had some fun with in Modern recently with Boom Bust. Made me look at it again, but Cascading Cataracts. It's from Amonkhet. It's an indestructible land. Tap to add a colorless 5 mana. Tap it, add 5 colors, 5 mana, any combination of colors.
At Wooburg.
So the card was printed once in Amonkhet. As far as I know, it has not been reprinted. And it's about $4 right now. It climbed up to $4 in 2020. And actually, it peaked a little higher. It peaked at $5, but it climbed back down. And now it looks like it's kind of stabilizing. And I think it probably is primed for a strong 2021.
In 2016?
Probably. Was like...
It's a card we would have talked about. It was 45 cents. 40 cents, it looks like, at its lowest point. There's no way we didn't talk about the card then. But that said, it is now 2021, and I still think at $4 is probably a reasonable pick at the trajectory it's on.
This was like one of my favorite. I've talked about this a lot in this podcast, and I've also talked about about this a lot on this podcast. But that fat pack box of cards people would bring me at a Magic Fest where they say they're like 03 dropping. Yeah, they're 03 dropping the Modern event, and they say there's nothing in here, but I want that shiny fetch land or whatever. And then I pull out a Rishkar's Expertise and whatever, and Sandworm Converted. Like, this card is always in that box, and I would always put it in the dollar pile.
Yeah. That makes sense. And now it's going to be a $2 or maybe in a $3 pile soon. So there you go.
You did it. This card is at its absolute floor because it is very recent, but it is not so recent that people haven't completely forgot about it. What set is it in? The most recent Zendikar set. What is the card? Valakut Awakening. Valakut Awakening is a personal wheel with a land on the back. How can you beat that? You cannot.
Card is pretty insane.
If it's under $3, buy it. I don't know what else to say. This is a $7 card.
Yeah, it's
short and sweet. I like it.
Yeah, we talk every week about how good these DFCs are and how they're better than we think, and you're absolutely right on this one.
People are still sleeping on every DFC. Balagat Awakening is going to be like a $4 uncommon in like a year, and everyone's going, when did that happen? Well, we're telling you now. This set is so weird. Yeah. Like, all the value is in the collector boosters. No one got to play standard with this stuff. Like, if they had, it would have been terrible anyway. Like, like standard, like they immediately banned the best card in the set right off the bat. So the set's weird. The value, there's so many good cards. Everything's like $3 right now. And then everything doesn't have to be $3 in 2 years when there's no way to get boxes. It's just going to be like,
I'll say this.
There's a ton
I want to
of
put this out there.
set.
I want to put this out there though, Jason. It's $3 for the Zendikar Rising version. It's $4 for the full art Zendikar Rising version.
Yeah,
you think they probably both move kind of together? No,
I think the premium versions probably diverge a bit and have a steeper trajectory. So if that's,
I mean, it's only $6 for a foil full art Valakut Awakening. That's wild.
Since it curls on both sides, the curl cancels each other out.
That's actually true. I believe that's actually true about the DFCs. Yeah.
I know about microwaves, and I know about Magic foils work exactly like your
the movie Speed
thermostat.
The movie Speed, right?
No,
Speed 2.
Your old school thermostat, but like, yeah, it's kind of like the movie Speed. And that Dennis Hopper had a bomb trigger in his thermostat, I think. I don't remember.
Yeah, right. Well, there you go. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to Brainstorm Brewery. Thank you for listening in 2020. Thank you for being here with us in 2021. We hope everyone had a great holiday season, and we hope that 2021 goes a little better than 2020 did. And pandemic aside, here on the podcast, I think we all had a really great time with this show, with everything we've been doing with the podcast and the streaming and everything in 2020. And we hope to continue to bring you some of that stuff in 2021. So like Jason said, patreon.com/BSB. If you're interested in helping out, we try to make sure to give all the money we can back out into the community to pay people to make cool stuff for us. So that's what we try to do, in addition to paying people to, create content for this podcast, our editors and all of that. So thank you everyone for 2020.
If you don't follow us on YouTube, which is free, you're a coward. There's a data metrics thing on the YouTube Content Creator Studio where we can see what percentage of you are lying to us about being subscribed. We've got
literally one mouse click in 1 second.
We've got a good cop, bad cop thing going on here on the show, I guess.
The one.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week.